Hello everybody, this is Coach Anthony Pratley back with the pistol spread option video here on the formation shifts and motions. Today we're going to talk on the formations, shifts and motions part, but really going to focus on the shifts and motions is what makes this offense so unique, so difficult to defend, and so difficult to play against. What we're going to do is talk about the difference between shifts and motions. We're going to talk about the positions on the field and how we utilize those. If you watch the video on the base formation, you've seen some of this, but really this is the video that explains what it is that we do, how we utilize those different parts and pieces. So let's jump right into it. What we do is we look at each individual player on the field, our specialty players. We give them a number or a name, in our case, the F, the Z, the X, the Y, and the H. And then each of them has some spots on the field that they need to memorize. When we teach this up front, we use orange cones. So day one, we teach them these formation spots. We use orange cones to align them, and we do a walkthrough. We really want to truly teach this walking through on the field day one. So the kids know those spots. They're committed to memory. For some, it's easy. It's one word. For the F, for example, I think there's 7 or 8 that he has to memorize, maybe up to 10. But the bottom line is, once it's been learned and it's learned on day one, we can utilize this to get us into any formation. We can shift and motion to those spots. So let's get into the spots on the field. Let's start with the easy one, which is the Y. For us, the Y has only one position, and that is what we call tight. So depending on the formation that they're in, what you're going to see here is the base formation down here at the bottom. But when we say the word tight, what we're going to tell our Y is that he is going to go to the tight position. Again, that's where the orange cone would be. On the field, he becomes a tight end. One of the important things to note, as you'll see here in the emphasis, is that our Y is always on the line of scrimmage. Always on the line of scrimmage. He will hear the word tight, and what that means to him is he will now go from his normal position down to a tight end spot. So that gives us the ability to change the formation without utilizing much. Now I want to go back and talk about the difference between the base formation, the tight position, and a shift or a motion. So let's spend some time on that. The base alignment for us, he would be in his normal spot in the base formation. If I were to say just, for example, tight as part of our formation set, I don't even say the word base, it's default. If I just say the word tight, he's going to walk out and he's going to line up in his tight spot. It doesn't matter what the previous formation is. I could pick any formation, but when he hears the word tight, he's going to go line up in that spot. If I want to use the word shift, what we're going to do is we're going to line up in whatever formation is called. Our quarterback will say set, which tells us it's time for us to shift. They will go from their normal position and they would shift to tight. So in the case that you'll see in the diagram, this would be an example of shift to tight, where he moved from his normal position. He got in and he went down after the quarterback started the cadence set. He would shift into his position and we would give a different look for the defense, just something else for them to worry about. So that is the tight for spot on the field for our Y. Let's talk about the X. He has something very, very similar. Again, he is always on the line of scrimmage. Our X and our Y are always on the line of scrimmage. For him, the word he's going to hear is down. He's going to line up in whatever formation is called. If he hears the word down, he would go and line up in this down position. Again, we would start with the orange cone to teach this. But then we would use the word shift down, and that would tell him to line up in his normal spot, shift to the down position. So the diagram will show you here he's in his normal spot, and you will see him shift down as soon as the quarterback started the cadence. So that is the difference between a regular word down, which tells him just to go line up in that spot, or shift down, which tells that player then to shift on the cadence to his new position. So the X and the Y have it easy. They're always on the line of scrimmage, and they only have a one word to worry about. For the X, it's down. For the Y, it's tight. Now, can I use those combinations? Of course I could. I could use combinations such as tight down, which would tell them to both line up as tight ends. Both the X and the Y would move in to be tight ends. It gives us a double tight formation. The other thing that I can do is yell shift tight down. And what that would mean is they would both line up as wide receivers. On the cadence, they would shift down into their positions to give us double tight ends. So that is an example of how we use the word and the shift. Let's go now to our more complicated players. We'll start with the Z, who has a few more than the others, but really not too difficult. His normal position on the field is what we would call the rhythm, which is to the right. And you'll see that that's indicated with a red circle here. Again, the Z and the F are always off the ball in our offense. So there's no worry about who's on or off the ball. They'll automatically know that they are off the ball by being the Z or the F. His normal position is what we would call rhythm. That's to the right, hence the word R, or the letter R in the word. And then blues, which goes to the left with the L in the word. So rhythm to the right, blues to the left. So in his normal position, he would be in rhythm. If I were to tell him to line up in blues, he would go to the left side. He also has what we call brown and gold. Brown is what we would call 1 by 1 off the end man of the line of scrimmage. So 1 yard off, 1 yard back. Brown is to the right, gold is to the left. Again, the R in the word versus the L in the word. And we've tried to keep that relatively consistent for our players. Again, it will work the exact same way. I can yell shift, or I could say line up. So in the case I'm going to show you here is we're going to go to shift blues. So the Z lines up in his normal rhythm. He will shift across the formation, and he will get into blues. Could I do that as a motion? Absolutely I can. What is the difference between a shift and a motion? A shift is you will start in one spot, you will move to your new spot, and you have to get set for at least 1 second before the snap. That is a shift. If I'm going to use motion, I do not have to get reset. I can continue at the snap to keep moving until the ball is snapped. So for us, shift means get set for 1 full second, and motion would be go full motion on the snap. Can you use them both? Yes. We just use the word shift, blues in this case, or motion blues in this case for the Z. So that gives you your rhythm and blues position for the Z. The only other thing he has to worry about are brown and gold. Brown, again, to the right is 1 by 1. So he would motion or shift in this case. He can shift to that 1 by 1 position to the right, which is brown. He can also shift to the 1 by 1 position to the left or motion to it. So where he wants to end up at the snap is 1 by 1 off the left tackle, if we were to call motion. So shift or motion to gold. Again, it's very simple for the kids to learn. The Z has a little bit more than the others. He's got 4 words where the X and the Y only had 1. Now we're going to get into where it gets very complicated. The H, he has got 4 also. Super complicated, as I was being facetious there, as you can tell. What we have here for the H is empty right and left, near and far. Near to the right, far to the left. Now what that does can be used in the exact same way. Normally he would line up behind the quarterback in our pistol set. If I wanted to put him in empty right, he could shift empty right, he could motion empty right, or he could just line up empty right. Your decision, you can do whatever you want to create chaos. For us, if I were to line an empty right, I would start in my normal position. I could shift or motion out to the empty right spot, which puts him in trips to the right. I can do the same thing for empty left, shift or motion, or just line up. In this case, we'll call it a shift. Shift empty left puts the H in a trips position to the left. Can I combine that with other words? Yes. I could say shift empty left tight, which would mean that the Y would come into his tight end position. They would shift. They would both have to get set for 1 second, but now I'm in a completely different formation. The other thing the H has to worry about is near and far. Near puts him behind the guard to the right. So he would line up just behind the guard to the right, and far would put him just behind the guard to the left. So same thing, you could shift, you could motion, you can do whatever you need to do, but that can be done using the call shift or the call motion. So that's it for our H. Last but not least, we have our Z, which does have a lot more than the others. He's really my utility player. I'm sorry, not the Z, my F. Let's start back. We've already talked to the Z. The F is my utility player. He can be a running back. He can be a tight end. He can be a slot receiver. Do I use personnel to change those out? Absolutely. So I do have a tight end personnel I would put in, and I would use things like hammer and nail and red and black. If I wanted to do more of a fullback type of a player, I could use strong and weak. If I wanted to do something through a different formation, I could use split calls and put 2 backs in, more quick backs. That could be a 2-back set or a split back set. So we have the option to do whatever we need to do. But let's talk to the F really quick. His normal position is the roll position, which you will see to the left. That is what we would call roll. It's already there, so I don't have to indicate that. His opposite of that rock would be to the right. So roll to the left, rock to the right. Again, I can shift or motion. He's in his normal roll position. He's going to shift over or motion over or just line up in that rock spot on the field. The next thing we can do is use red or black. Red is 1 by 1 to the right. Again, off the end man of the line of scrimmage. Shift, motion, or just line up there. Black is to the left, 1 by 1 off the line of scrimmage. You can see he can shift, motion, whatever it is that you want to do, just line up there. So that gives me black. Next thing I'm going to do is get into our hammer and nail. Hammer puts him 1 yard by 1 yard in that gap, right in the guard tackle gap. So hammer is to the right, nail would be to the left. We use this a ton as far as a shift or a motion, especially in the motion, where I can get him in and help to be a blocker in the box, which is huge for us. More of a tight end type of a person, the F there in the nail. So hammer and nail in that guard tackle gap. And last but not least, we have strong and weak, which is where I'm really going to put him into the backfield. Strong would line up more of a traditional fullback directly behind the guard and next to the quarterback. That is strong. To the right. Weak would be to our left. Again, he would line up more of a traditional fullback where he would be behind the guard to the left next to the quarterback. Can you use this as a shift, a motion? Yes, absolutely. It works 100% the same way. So I think you can see just by using a few simple words, you can get into multiple formations. We can run the same play 1,000 ways just by using the word shift, by using the word motion, by doubling up some of these. Again, I could call tight red, I could call tight strong, I could call tight down strong, and I've got a double tights 2-back situation. Really, I can do just about anything I want to with these combinations. So for me, it's easy to teach. I use the orange cones on day 1 after I've already gone through the PowerPoint with the kids. But really, this is the magic formula behind our offense. We can do about 5 plays 1,000 ways, which is the important part of the pistol spread option offense. Thanks for joining us again. If this helps, please make sure you like and subscribe. Tell your coaching friends. We're going to go through the entire pistol spread option playbook through this series of videos. So thanks for joining us. This is Coach Pratley. Thanks again. We will talk soon.